and welcome. Tonight, former President Olusegun Obasanjo warns against an imminent collapse of democracy in Africa. Security operators recapture 5 inmates that escaped in the Cotton Carfe Medium Custodial Facility jailbreak in Kogi State as the federal government orders a probe into the incident. River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara refutes allegations linking him to militant groups. And President Recep Tayyip Erdogan accuses opposition politicians in Turkey of disturbing the peace of citizens with provocations after 1 week of protests.
And on business, renowned economist Bismarck Rwani says concession of major roads in poor condition will reduce insecurity and boost productivity in the country.
And on sports news tonight, Super Eagles head coach Eric Schell demands maximum concentration from his players as they face Zimbabwe's Brave Warriors tomorrow in the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers.
And from Abuja, Vice President Kashim Shettima launches the Nigerian Youth Academy, a digital platform that aims to train 7 million Nigerian youths and create 5 million jobs in 2 years.
We begin tonight in the nation's capital, Abuja, with a stark warning about the future of democracy in Africa. Well, the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, has raised serious concerns, stating that democracy on the continent is teetering on the brink of collapse. Speaking at the Colloquium in Abuja, celebrating the 60th birthday of former Imo State Governor, Mr. Emeka Ihedioha, Chief Obasanjo attributed this crisis to the adoption of liberal democracy. The Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Bishop Matthew Kuka, echoed those concerns, calling for an urgent restructuring of democratic processes in Nigeria. Our correspondent Benny Ark reports.
This is a commemorative colloquium celebrating the 60th birthday of the former governor of Imo State and Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Emeka Ihedioha.
Thank you so much for being in this honor.
Dignitaries across various divides were in attendance, including former President Olusegun Obasanjo, former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, former Secretary General of Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyaoku, former governors, former and 7 ministers, lawmakers, faith leaders, and royal fathers. Themed is Democracy Failing in Africa. The event aims to provide valuable insights into the failures of democracy in Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
In his address as the chairman of the occasion, former President Olusegun Obasanjo was blunt in his assessment of democracy on the continent.
So if democracy is not that democracy is failing, democracy is dying. And if we are going to make democracy not to die, we have to look at democracy in the context and in the content of Africa.
The keynote address was delivered by the Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Bishop Matthew Kuka. He speaks on the need to restructure democracy.
When a government becomes destructive to the principles that have been initiated, it is the right of the people to alter and to abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing powers in such form as to them shall most likely be the effect of safety and happiness.
He also gave recommendations of what Nigeria needs to do to strengthen its democracy.
The democratization of development leads to the development of democracy. If you appreciate the fact that the poor people living on the hills, the poor people living across the river, they too didn't come to accompany you. So if we are honest enough to democratize development, we will be able to develop democracy.
The goodwill message is focused on the status of democracy in Nigeria and Africa.
Emeka and I have kept this relationship, and till today, I have found him extremely loyal, dedicated, and focused.
In Africa, and particularly we in Nigeria, have the responsibility of having a stable democracy which would enable our people to create and to manufacture.
In his vote of thanks, the celebrants stressed the need to uphold democratic tenets for the overall good of the polity.
I do not take positions because I like you or not like you. But because I believe that democracy remains the best form of governance in our land, we will do everything we can without fear of favor and speaking truth to power to sustain and protect this institution, to protect democracy.
The consensus here is that there is a need for a re-evaluation of Africa's governance models, urging leaders to embrace systems that prioritize inclusivity, transparency, and the welfare of the people. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
Well, not surprisingly, differing opinions on the state of Nigerian democracy emerged from high-profile colloquium. While former presidential candidate Peter Obi is concerned that democracy is not progressing, Senator Aminu Tambuwal offers a contrasting view, asserting that democracy is indeed flourishing.
Democracy works. If they do otherwise, of course, it will be failure. So, in that case, I would say it falters, it gets up, it's work in progress. And I believe that we should not lose sight of the fact that democracy for now in Nigeria is the best system of government that we can have. And it is our responsibility as players to walk the walk and walk the talk and ensure that it works in Nigeria and Africa.
Okay. When I was being impeached, the president sent people to come and intervene on my behalf. Ken Namani came begging House people not to impeach me. Today, the president impeaches the president. So that is the thing that is for us. Even when I was impeached, Mr. Basanjo called me and said, "Are you okay? Are you safe?" When I go back from the court, when court eventually declared me under Ndimba, President Yar'Adua called my phone in London and said, "Congrats." I said, "President, I can't come back because, if I come back, these people," he said, "Tell me the flight in which you're coming back." And I told him, when I came in the first time, military people came to receive me at the airport. I couldn't believe it. I took me straight to him. Now the president will ask me not to come back here again. So insane. Let's not talk about it. Let's talk about how we are going to do it. It's collapsed.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has confirmed receipt of the petition seeking to recall Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan as a representative of Kogi Central on grounds of loss of confidence. The Secretary to the Commission, Rose Oriera Anthony, received the petitions today. The spokesperson for the group, who addressed journalists after submitting the letter, reveals that the groups have over 50% of registered voters from Kogi Central who are ready to ensure her recall, as the senatorial district cannot be left without representation at the National Assembly for the next 6 months.
We're here to submit the petition against the senator representing Kogi Central Senatorial District in the National Assembly, the Senate arm, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. We have come to submit a petition of loss of confidence. The entire people of Kogi Central have lost confidence in her because of her gross misconduct in the Senate that led us to a 6-month suspension where Kogi Central will not be represented at the National Assembly, the Senate arm. So we have come to recall her back so that we can have a representative in the Senate, because as a people, we cannot afford not to have a representative in the Senate arm for another 1 year. So we are here to tell INEC to please follow the constitutional process for our recall so that our recall process can begin. That's why we're here. Submitted our petition, it's been received, all other documents have been received. This is the acknowledgement copy of the petition. We all know the INEC rules. You cannot submit a petition without having to go and get signatures of registered voters, and that's why we're now saying, as a people, we are recalling her back from the Senate, because we have gotten what it takes to recall her back from the Senate.
Well, even as the petition for Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's recall makes the round, she does not appear to be stepping on the brakes in her face-off with the Senate President Godswill Akpabio. The senator representing Kogi Central is rejecting her 6-month suspension, labeling it political victimization and vowing to expose corruption. She insists she will not be silenced, promising to fight for justice and the rights of Nigerian women. Part of the statement she issued today reads, As a senator, I have a duty to represent my constituents and uphold the principles of justice and transparency. My allegations against Senate President Godswill Akpabio were not made lightly, and I will continue to seek justice and accountability no matter the cost. She is also asking the public to ignore the viral reports claiming that she has apologized to the Senate, as she insists it is entirely false. To security matters now, 5 out of the 12 inmates that escaped from the Cotton Karfe Medium Custodial Center in the Kogi State have been rearrested. The Acting Controller General of the Nigerian Correctional Service, Nwakuche Ndidi, who made this known, says the service is determined to recapture the remaining 7 inmates. Meanwhile, the Minister of Interior, Mr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, has ordered a probe into the incident, insisting that technology will be deployed to recapture the fleeing inmates.
Cotton Karfe, a sleepy and quiet town, is in the news again following a Monday morning prison incident at the medium custodial facility in the town. Following the escape of 12 inmates, the Controller General of the Nigerian Correctional Service leads heads of other security agencies in Kogi State on a visit to the facility. After inspecting the facility, the Controller General narrates the incident.
We are having very good synergy with all the security agencies to make sure that these inmates that escaped are recaptured. Unfortunately, we lost one of my staff. So that is the position of things. At the moment, investigation is ongoing to get to the roots of the whole situation.
The facility recorded jailbreaks in 2014 and 2016, and the Controller General clarifies that the latest incident is not a jailbreak.
The ones that happened before, you can see that the walls are now very solid walls, well fabricated and put in place. It's just unfortunate that this one happened. It's not a jailbreak, neither will you consider it an outward aggression because we have enough personnel here. It's just unfortunate, and the Honorable Minister of Interior, Dr. Olubunmi Ojo, I can assure you, will get to the root of this incident because anybody who is found complicit in this particular issue will be adequately dealt with.
For the government of Kogi State, the incident is unacceptable.
First, the Excellency received the information as early as the controller of Kogi Command passed the information to me, and he wants to express his condolence to the CGL Correctional Service on the loss of that gallant correctional officer. And the governor said this is not acceptable to the government to talk about jailbreak. It is not a jailbreak, but escape from custody.
The federal government has ordered an immediate investigation into the incident, while the Correctional Service has activated mechanisms to recapture the remaining inmates still on the run.
In part 2, after the break, Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara refutes allegations linking him to militant groups. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo warns against imminent collapse of democracy in Africa. Security operatives recapture 5 inmates that escaped at the Cotton Karfe Medium Custodial Facility in Kogi State as the federal government orders probe into the incident. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara refutes allegations linking him to militant groups. And President Recep Tayyip Erdogan accuses opposition politicians in Turkey of disturbing the peace of citizens with provocations after a week of protests. The US-based human rights advocate, Mr. William Devlin, is asking the federal government to reverse the Supreme Court judgment that sentenced a farmer, Mr. Sunday Jackson, to death over the alleged murder of a herdsman in Numan, Adamawa State. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, Mr. Devlin explains his effort to get all parties involved in the case to appeal for clemency for Mr. Jackson.
Yesterday, on the 23rd of March, 2025, there was a prayerful presence in Adamawa State, in Yola, And that was pulled together by a couple of different organizations, Boateye Development and others. And there were hundreds of people there in Yola praying and what I call a prayerful presence there for the clemency, for the pardon of Sunday Jackson. So in conclusion, let me say that when we were here 2 weeks ago, we initially started to do our press interviews, and it became Nigeria-wide. Nigeria-wide. However, since that time, over the last 10 to 14 days, Sunday Jackson has now become an international case. And here in Africa, in Europe, the United States, Canada, North America, and so there are many, many people that have heard the plea of Sunday Jackson. Sunday Jackson is an innocent man.
The governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, has refuted allegations linking him to militant groups, dismissing reports and recent social media reports and videos as fake and malicious attempts to incite tension in the state. In a statement issued by his chief press secretary, Governor Fubara condemned the circulation of the fabricated videos purportedly depicting explosions at oil and gas facilities in Rivers. According to him, the affected communities had debunked the claims, assuring that all critical infrastructure remain intact and operational. Governor Fubara has restated his commitment to maintaining peace in Rivers State, emphasizing that governance and development can only thrive in a stable environment. Meanwhile, Nobel laureate and elder statesman Professor Wole Soyinka has reacted to President Bola Tinubu's suspension of the governor of Rivers State, his deputy, and members of the State House of Assembly. Speaking on Channels Television's breakfast show, The Morning Brief, Professor Soyinka says the suspension as an excessive response on the part of the president, and he hopes that those affected will approach the court over the matter.
And I think that the wholesale scuttling of the democratic existence in the rivers was excessive. I think it could have been managed much better, much more economically. I think the president did not sort of curb the extent. He didn't economize on his presidential emergency powers. There is an issue of the Constitution. Is the president's action constitutional? And I hope the affected politicians, governor and representatives, that they test this all the way up so that we get a clearer picture once and for all. Instead of running around in circles from regime to regime, it should be possible by now for one to be able to say confidently that this action is illegal, is unconstitutional, or otherwise. So for now, we can only leave it to the constitutional lawyers to guide us. Now, the next question is it politically wise? In my view, this takes us on a slippery slope. It's not what I would have liked to see happen right now. With all our struggle to attain a federal structure. The spirit of it, in my view, is contrary to the spirit of federalism. Now, it's very carefully and deliberately, because this does not vitiate maybe the rightness of the action. It does not establish the wrongness. But with my commitment to a genuine federal structure, when an event like this happens, I say we're back on the slippery slope. And I hope that it is tested all the way, because as I've said, we've been through this before under different regimes. It's either we have a decentralized federalist structure, or we have a quasi-dictatorial, whimsical kind of government which just panders to the political leaning of whoever happens to be in charge at the moment. So that's my take on it. Obviously, I'm going to go deeper and find out just what on earth has been going on in the real estate that led to this, what I consider an unfortunate step in our federalist journey.
We continue the news at 10 now as we head over to Abuja studios where Gloria Omezuke is standing by. Over to you, Gloria.
Many thanks, Anne. We turn attention now to the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, who has launched the Nigerian Youth Academy, NIA, a digital platform that aims to train 7 million Nigerian youths and create 5 million jobs in 2 years. The Vice President launched the initiative on behalf of the President, Bola Tinubu, at the Council Chamber of the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
The Vice President's arrival signals the commencement of the event, which has in attendance some members of the Federal Executive Council, representatives of the private sector and the diplomatic community, as well as some youths from across the country. The Minister of Youth Development highlights the objectives of the Nigerian Youth Academy.
Our goal with NIA is that in 2 years, we would deliver at least a youth with 2 skills of over 5 million Nigerian youths that we can get. And our mantra again for this is 1 youth, 2 skills.
The initiative is also considered a bold step by the Tinubu administration to empower young Nigerians.
This is how we shift from an import-dependent, resource-dependent economy to a production and a services and a skills, export of skills-led economy by investing in our people and equipping them to deliver world-class services that are needed all over the world, right from here in Nigeria.
Vice President Shettima, who represented President Bola Tinubu at the event, said the Academy will create a robust, skills-driven learning environment that will bolster the nation's human capital.
We cannot guarantee the security of our human capital unless we create a robust, skills-driven learning environment. We have also made significant strides in our human capital development agenda. Programs like the 3 million technical talent-free MTT initiative, the Skill of Artisans program SUFA, and the investment in digital and creative enterprises IDIs. Our interventions designed for this purpose. The establishment of the Nigeria Education Loan for NELPON has broken down financial barriers to higher education for young Nigerians. This is our dream for you.
The Vice President also presented checks of 1 million naira each to 6 members of Nigerian Youth Academy, representing the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, as a startup package to help them implement their programs as self-employed and skilled youth. The Nigerian Youth Academy will focus on 3 critical areas, namely education and skills development, economic empowerment and leadership, and civic engagement. From the Presidential Villa, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
The acting governor of Cross River State, Mr. Peter Ode, has assured victims of the open fire incident in Calabar of the government's intervention and investigation of the unfortunate situation that occurred on Sunday, claiming lives. The acting governor, who was speaking shortly after visiting families of the victims at their residence, he calls for calm from residents of the state.
We entrust our lives in the hands of the police to protect us. Are the same people that are supposed to protect us has taken the life of one of us. You know, the information are still very sketchy at the moment. We are concerned as a government that such a person will have a live ammunition with them at the time, you know, for this to happen. It's a sad one for us as a government. We are very concerned, and that we hope that the police will have an explanation as to why this happened. And we've asked that a meeting by the head of the police should meet with us tomorrow by 2 p.m. for them to brief us about the incident that happened here.
Still ahead on the news at 10, renowned economist Bismarck Rewane says concession of major roads in poor conditions will reduce insecurity and boost productivity in the country. But that's in business news. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10, coming to you live from our Abuja studios. President Bola Tinubu has officially flagged off the Phase 2A construction of the 17.55-kilometer access road to the second Niger Bridge. Represented by the Executive Governor of Delta State, Mr. Sheriff Oborewori, the President emphasized the significance of the project, which aims to reduce traffic congestion, enhance trade and economic activities, and improve transportation efficiency. The Minister of Works, Mr. Dave Umahi, also announced the approval of a 9-kilometer extension of the Benin-Asaba Highway construction project, stretching from Summit Junction, Asaba, to the first Niger Bridge.
President Bola Tinubu, who is represented by Governor Sheriff Oborewori, arrives the second Niger Bridge at the Oko axis in the Shimile South Local Government area of Delta State, in company of the Minister of Works, David Umahi, federal and state lawmakers, and other government officials. In his opening remarks, the Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Works, Olufunso Adebi, urges all the stakeholders to cooperate with contractors to ensure timely completion of the project.
As we embark on this exciting journey, I urge the contractor, Mrs. CCC Nigeria Limited, to concentrate on the primary goal and objective of this project. I would also like to take this opportunity to appeal to Delta State government, local government, residents along this corridor, and all other crucial stakeholders for support during the road construction. Your assistance will encourage the contractor to expedite the project execution.
The Delta State Dance Troupe entertains guests at the event with some dance steps. Representatives of the impacted communities deliver their goodwill messages and present requests for the provision of additional infrastructure in the state.
But as always, Oliver Twist will ask for more. Honorable Minister, I'm sure you were not comfortable with the road from Benin to Asaba. There is work to be done.
In his address, the Minister of Works, David Umahi, commends Governor Sheriff Oborewori for his commitment to deliver quality projects for the people of Delta State. He also informs the gathering about the federal government's decision to extend the Benin-Asaba Highway project.
It is only east-west road and this Benin to Warri that we are digging 1 meter, filling with lumps, sharp sand, stone base, and putting 8 inches concrete on top of it.
President Tinubu's message is delivered by the Governor of Delta State, and he reaffirms his commitment to infrastructural development, highlighting the economic benefits of the project for Nigerians.
Road infrastructure projects in different parts of the country will undoubtedly enhance rural-urban integration and connect transporters, traders, entrepreneurs, and investors to vital commercial hubs and industrial corridors.
The 17.55-kilometer access road to the second Niger Bridge will serve as a key transportation corridor, linking multiple communities in Delta State, including Okpanam, Ibusa, Okwe, Esele Asaba, Oko, and Asaba.
Well, now there is a search for a 22-year-old male who has been missing since Tuesday, March the 11th. 22-year-old Folayemi Benjamin Igbinadolo is a Lagos resident, originally from Benin, Edo State, and speaks English and Yoruba. His family, relatives, and the society at large are deeply concerned, and authorities are urging anyone with information to report to the nearest police station. Useful surveillance will go a long way to achieving this faster, as his life matters. But that's it from the nation's capital. We go over now to Will Ibong in Lagos for business news.
Thank you, Gloria. Concession and preservation of road construction across the country would improve transport network and reduce the menace of kidnapping. This is according to renowned economist and CEO of financial derivatives company, Mr. Bismarck Ruwani, who was speaking on our Business Morning program earlier today. Now, while commending the federal government's recent flag off of the 125-kilometer Benin-Asaba superhighway project, which will be fully financed under a public-private partnership model, Mr. Riwani also points out some benefits that would be derived from good road maintenance.
The Highway Development Management and Development Initiative is not what the government is spending on development of roads, but how the government is getting out of the way so the private sector can put money into it. So what you saw yesterday wasn't government investing, it was government facilitating and getting out of the way so that the private sector can put money into the roads. And you will see the result. It is a phenomenal difference. But what are the gains of this? One, the government probably spends, I don't know how many trillion naira a year doing maintenance of roads. First of all, the maintenance is poor. Secondly, it doesn't even happen. Thirdly, it's a leakage. And every time they're doing maintenance, they block the road, right? And then it creates traffic delays and jams. It's a major disaster. But now, when you now concession the road to somebody and it spends this maybe 100 or 200 billion naira and guards it with drone technology, right? With central reservation and high barriers, only 3 or 4 outlets into the where they get out of the way. It means that one, you cannot even kidnap, right? You cannot, and the speed at which they're going, quite frankly, is much more efficient than the other.
Now, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has referred the world's largest cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, as digital gold, a significant endorsement that may influence Bitcoin's perceived value in the financial markets. The groundbreaking statement made by the IMF immediately caused significant positive ripples across cryptocurrency markets. Today, Bitcoin's price surged above $86,000 as the trading volume also saw a sharp increase, indicating heightened market activity. Analysts say this recognition could potentially boost investor confidence and drive trading interest in Bitcoin as it aligns with the narrative of the cryptocurrency being a store of value. Now to some company news. Tier 1 bank UBA has reported a profit after tax of 766 billion naira for the financial year 2024, a 26% increase from 607 billion naira in 2023. Gross earnings rose by 53.6% to 3.19 trillion naira. Total assets grew by 46.8% to 30.4 trillion naira, while profit before tax increased by 6.1% to 803.72 billion naira. Shareholders' funds also saw a significant rise, reaching 3.41 trillion naira, up by 68.39%. The bank declared a final dividend of 3 naira per share, bringing the total dividend for 2024 to 5 naira per share, pending shareholder approval. Now, speaking of dividends and stocks, the domestic stock market opened the first trading day of the week with positive sentiments. John Merkel has the details.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, the NGX has retained a positive sentiment. It closed with on Friday. Today, the market gained 369 billion naira, bringing us back to 66 trillion naira. And also, we've regained our 105,000 level after the Osho went up 0.56%. And it's because of the big guys in the banking counter. Well, a lot of profit taking tore down a lot of stocks last week. So we see for today, FBN Holding is positive. UBA had an impressive result that they released today. That's also positive. GTCO seems to be the leading one here, 6.53%. Access Co positive, as well as Zenith. But it's not just the banking. When we look at the counters, we see that positive sentiment has gone around everyone. So banking, yeah, 3.78%, huge, you would say. And consumer goods is also positive, not so much, 0.07%. Oil and gas also gained 0.39%. Maybe we will recover from the losses of last week. We'll watch and see. But for today, at least we have the ball.
And that's a wrap on business. It's back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Welcome back. Outside our shores, Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has accused the country's main opposition party, the CHP, of being responsible for the current protests raging through the country. Here's Simon Puse with more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Ukraine reports a Russian missile attack hit a hospital, homes and children's institutions in Sumy, injuring 65 people, including 14 children. It comes as talks between US and Russian officials on a possible peace deal in Ukraine are taking place in Saudi Arabia. They are discussions Ukraine's defense minister says are productive. Meanwhile, Russian attacks on Ukraine continued overnight as the Russian military say they intercepted 28 Ukrainian drones.
We don't have high expectations. We understand that we have negotiations not with Russians. We have negotiations in Saudi Arabia with our American partners. And this is not about political decisions. These negotiations are about technical details. But again, everything depends on Putin, and he's not interested in ceasefire or peace, and he is a major hurdle on the way to ceasefire. Ukraine has agreed unconditionally to Mr. Trump's ceasefire proposal.
The Turkish government says 1,133 people have been arrested in 5 days of protests across the country. It says people have been abusing the right to protest and warns that terrorizing the streets will not be tolerated. Protests began when Istanbul's mayor, Ekrem İmamoğlu, an opponent of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, was detained on Wednesday on corruption charges. İmamoğlu says the charges are politically motivated, something Erdogan denies. Chad has condemned a senior Sudanese general's threat to target its airports, calling it a declaration of war. Its foreign ministry said it would respond according to international law if a square meter of Chadian territory is threatened. The warning follows comments from Lieutenant General Yasser al-Attah, the deputy commander of Sudan's army, who said the UAE was using Chad's airports to deliver weapons to the paramilitary rapid support forces. The Sudanese army has repeatedly accused the UAE of supporting its rival, the RSF, throughout the brutal 2-year civil war. A flight carrying 199 Venezuelans deported from the US to their homeland has landed at Simon Bolivar Airport near Caracas. US repatriation flights to Venezuela had ground to a halt weeks ago after the Trump administration revoked a license allowing Venezuela to export some of its oil to the US despite sanctions. But on Saturday, the two governments, which have no diplomatic relations, reached an agreement on resuming the flights as part of the Trump administration's plan to remove undocumented migrants. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro described the flights as a chance to rescue and free migrants from prisons in the US.
His policies have failed us. We're not better off than we were 4 years ago, and no rhetoric, bumper sticker, or Hollywood campaign ad can change that.
Mia Love, the first US black Republican congresswoman, has died at the age of 49 in Utah. A statement said she passed away peacefully on Sunday, surrounded by family at her home in the town of Saratoga Springs. Love, a daughter of Haitian immigrants, had represented the state of Utah in the House of Representatives. Her daughter, Abigail, said earlier this month that Love had no longer been responding to treatment for brain cancer. Second Lady Usha Vance will make a cultural visit this week, and a separate trip is expected from Trump's national security advisor, Mike Waltz. The outgoing Greenlandic Prime Minister described the plan as aggressive and said the duo had not been invited for meetings. Meanwhile, the island's likely next leader accused the US of showing a lack of respect.
Denmark, which controls Greenland, it's not doing its job and it's not being a good ally. So you have to ask yourself, how are we going to solve that problem, solve our own national security? If that means that we need to take more territorial interest in Greenland, that is what President Trump is going to do, because he doesn't care about what the Europeans scream at us. He cares about putting the interests of America's citizens first.
And a car chase in Paris that ended in a huge pileup has been caught on camera. The black car, with 2 other people on board, crashed before 3 police cars collided with it and each other in turn. 13 people, 10 of them police officers, have been injured after the car chase ended in the pileup in the French capital. Their condition is not thought to be critical. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Super Eagles head coach Eric Schell has demanded maximum concentration from his players as they face Zimbabwe tomorrow in the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying series. Schell has also stressed the importance of the games against the Zimbabweans at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium in the Akwa Ibom State. Super Eagles captain Truce Ekong says it is important for the team to win all their remaining matches. New Zealand have qualified for the 2026 FIFA World Cup for only the third time with a 3-0 win over New Caledonia earlier today, but lost in form Nottingham Forest striker Chris Wood to injury. The All-Whites joined already qualified Japan and co-host the United States, Canada and Mexico at next year's finals thanks to 3 second-half goals. That sports is back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has warned against an imminent collapse of democracy in Africa. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Have a good night rest and stay safe.